Good evening and welcome to tonight's Meadville Tribune Forum for the 4 candidates running for Meadville City Council. We welcome those of you watching via Armstrong cable, as well as those listening on Cool 101.7 FM on the radio. I'm Keith Gushert, as Joe said, one of the reporters with the Meadville Tribune. With me is Rick Green, our editor of the Tribune. We received a lot of input from the public, and we have a number of questions to ask the candidates tonight. We appreciate the 4 of them being here this evening to be questioned about important issues that are facing the city. With us this evening, and if you can see on your TV screen and on your radio screen, from left to right is Bill Lawrence, Autumn Vogel, Larry McKnight, and Marcy Cantz. We're going to allow each of the candidates up to a 2-minute introduction of themselves, and then we'll begin questioning the candidates. We'll give them up to 2 minutes to answer each question. We've drawn lots to see who goes first with the introduction, and then we'll begin with that same candidate, which in this case is Bill Lawrence, since he drew number 1. Before we do that, though, just to remind them, when they get to about a minute and a half in, I'll probably kind of wave or something so you know you've got 30 seconds left. And then, sort of like soccer, the red card comes out if you go over, get to the 2-minute mark. With that, we'll start with Bill Lawrence. Bill, 2 minutes, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to express our ideas here for City Council. My name is Bill Lawrence, and I own Bill Lawrence's Personal Fitness. I've owned that business in downtown Meadville for 25 years now, and I was born in Meadville. I've lived here roughly my whole life, and I am running for City Council because, quite honestly, I have a vision for Meadville that I don't think is currently being met. I have a vision of Meadville where people want to visit us, businesses want to come here and they want to expand, and most importantly, a Meadville where our kids want to come back to live. That's extremely important to me. And I just believe that right now, with the current leadership that we have, I don't see how that vision can come to fruition. In order for that to happen, in order for our kids to want to come here, for businesses to want to come here, for people to want to visit us here, we have to revitalize our economy. And that's going to take a lot of work, but it's work that I think I have a good plan for. And you're going to hear the current City Council members that I'm going against talk about their accomplishments. And I don't think any of these accomplishments really did anything to really boost the economy in a way that we need to move forward. There's just simply an ideological difference between the way I see things and the way things are currently being done. Currently, there's a lot of government intervention. There's a lot of programs that I don't think are necessary. And what I believe more in is empowering the citizen to do better. And I believe in the people. And we need to start having a winner's mentality if we're going to get by. And I want a Meadville where people thrive, not just get by.
All right, thank you, Bill. Next up, Autumn Vogel. Autumn, floor is yours for a couple minutes.
Thank you, and thanks so much for having us, and thanks to the folks at home, the people of Meadville, for tuning in and getting informed, paying attention. My name is Autumn Vogel, and I'm running for re-election with Larry McKnight to Meadville City Council. I came to Meadville in 2011. I chose to stay here after I graduated from Allegheny, and I made this choice to stay and to make Meadville my home because I fell in love with this city, like a lot of people do. And I decided to commit myself to the work going on here, the work that lots of people are part of and the work that was happening way before I came, to make Meadville safer, healthier, stronger, and a more vibrant place to live. We've done lots to accomplish this in the last 10 years that I've been working with other folks in our community on this, and a lot in the last 4 years since Larry and I have been on City Council. People stop me on the street, in the grocery store all the time to tell me how much of a change they see in our city, how glad they are to be living here, and how encouraged they are by what they see going on. And for those folks, I'm really grateful. Since 2020, when Larry and I got elected and got seated on the City Council, we've accomplished a lot to make our city safer, to improve the quality of life for people here, to address our budget deficit, and to set all of Meadville up for a prosperous future. I'm really grateful that the folks of Meadville gave us a chance in 2019, and I asked the folks to do so again by voting for Larry and I on November 7th. I ask you to help us keep Meadville moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Larry McKnight. Larry, you have a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Armstrong and Cool 101. I'm glad to be here. And thank the people for tuning in and listening. My name again is Larry McKnight. I was born and raised in Meadville. I went to elementary school, from elementary school all the way through high school, living here. Ran a business in Meadville from 1977 up until 1982 along with my family. I worked in various jobs in the social field. I know people real well. I listen to what people have to say. I know what I've experienced living in Meadville. I know how Meadville used to be, how people used to want to help one another and do away with a different party system of us versus them. I've also seen how Meadville has come together in times of emergencies, times of tragedy. We've come together from all walks of life. Those are things that make me proud of Meadville, and I want to continue to support people that are doing that. I want to continue to live here and help people feel the way that I feel about Meadville. As Autumn stated, we've done quite a few things. I'm not going to go over them again, but to know that we do care about Meadville. We have goals that we want to see, that we have goals we've already ascertained. I feel we've moved the city forward, and I feel that our plans that we have for the city of Meadville will continue to help us move forward and grow. I'd like to thank people for listening to us, coming out, and more importantly, coming out and voting for Autumn and I, and I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Marcy Kantz. Marcy, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'd like to thank the Tribune, Cool 101, and Armstrong for being here, and for the voters to, at home for tuning in. Voters of Meadville, this is a pivotal election. This election will decide the direction of our city. This is not a race of R versus D. This is a race of R and Ds versus the Meadville chapter of PA United. It has become clear that I have the support of many Democrats, some of who have come to me to express their support and to provide me with knowledge of city operations. I believe that my experience, education, and small town values make me your best choice for city council. I am a 1987 graduate of Meadville Area High School. After high school, I pursued a career as an air traffic controller by obtaining a Bachelor's of Science degree in Aeronautical Studies and an MBA at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Upon graduation from the Minnesota Air Traffic Control School, I secured a position as an air traffic control specialist. Later, I returned home to Meadville with my late husband to raise our 4 children. I want to express that my children are my greatest accomplishment. After spending almost 17 years at home raising 4 children, my focus returned back to a career. After working various jobs, I found my niche in the creation of a daycare center in downtown Meadville. While in the process of creating the daycare, my husband and I purchased Keystone Strength Gym and established Kantz Properties with our prospective residential properties before we were married. Keystone Strength brings approximately 100 people to the downtown, while Keystone Kids serves over 50 family and employs 12. This was accomplished through COVID and multiple expansions over just the past 3 years. It is with this experience and success that I come to you and ask for your vote for a seat on City Council. I am seeking a position on City Council to help improve the local economy by careful management and use of our taxpayer dollars, nonprofits, and natural resources.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. All right, turn over to our Rick Green for our first question, and the first question will go to Bill Lawrence.
All right, first I'd like to take a few seconds and thank the candidates for appearing tonight, Cool 101.7 and Armstrong for being our broadcast partners to getting the form out to the rest of the public. First question will go to Mr. Lawrence. There's been a lot of talk about the need for safe and affordable housing in the run-up to this election. A residential rental licensing and inspection program is scheduled to begin in the upcoming weeks or months. Was that program enough to provide safe housing? And in terms of affordable housing, how far should government go to make housing affordable for its residents?
So I'm not against the rental inspection program. I think that was okay to do. Unfortunately, the way that it was implemented showed once again poor leadership, because all it did was create a divide when our current city council took one side and demonized the other side, So that now we have an expensive lawsuit that we have to deal with. So we can do an inspection program, that's okay. But it's gotta be one where we come together and we get people from all sides, from the landlords, from the tenants, and the city manager should be involved, and we should be creating this together. The other side is going to say that they tried to do that, but I can tell you that that is not. It was very disingenuous the way that landlords were invited to the table. They already had their plan already made up, and all it did was, again, create problems. So as far as what I see, something could very easily be worked out, but to be honest, I don't think that they really want to work something out. I really don't believe that Larry and Autumn really have any interest in trying to find something that everybody can go along with, because this really should be something that is extremely easy to do. Other cities and towns do it all the time without any kind of fuss like this. Secretown's done it, all kinds of places have done it. So we can do it. It can be accomplished really easy. But I think what they want to do is, because they talk about having controlling the price of housing all the time, I believe that really they're very anti-landlord, and they really have an agenda of trying to push landlords out of Meadville. They're very unfriendly to landlords, when we all need to be working together, because what they see is city-owned and cooperatively owned housing, and that's how they want to control housing. And so we need safe housing, but it can be done with, we don't have to do everything that they did to have the safe housing that we could have. Pennsylvania already has minimal standards, and we could be adopting those standards, and we come up with a plan that everybody could get along with.
Thank you. We'll go next to Autumn Vogel.
Can you restate the question?
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about the need for safe and affordable housing in the run-up to the election. The residential licensing and inspection program is scheduled to begin in the upcoming weeks and months. Was that program enough to provide safe housing? And in terms of affordable housing, how far should government go to make housing affordable for residents?
Sure, thanks, Rick, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I worked really hard along with some other folks on City Council to pass the rental licensing program. It was one of the big pieces of the platform that Larry and I shared in 2019. And that was because for decades, right, a rental inspection program was recommended for our city and was never acted upon. First recommended in 2006, then in 2009. It's in our comprehensive plan from 2013. And so when we took office, right, that was our opportunity to make some headway for renters who make up 63% of Meadville, right? So these basic health and safety inspections, which will happen now, will make strides in making safer housing for renters in our city. Address your point, Bill, but I'll stick. And I think it's a good start, but I think that there's also work to be done to support homeowners in creating safer houses and rehabbing their homes, and also affordability, right? And so that is why City Council this year, we started working with our city staff to develop a housing action plan. We're in the midst of that right now. We'll get the report back in a few weeks. But the idea is really to make housing affordable, to make more strides in affordability for renters. We cannot control rent in the state of Pennsylvania, right? But there's lots of money coming from the state and the federal government that if we have a plan together, we can bring in to the city to support affordable housing rehab, weatherization programs, both homeowners and rental properties. And so we're excited to do that with 4 more years on City Council.
Thank you. We'll go to Larry McKnight next.
Yes, could you repeat the?
Sure. In the run-up to the election, there's been a lot of talk about the need for safe and affordable housing. The rental licensing and inspection program will be implemented in a few weeks or months. Was that program enough to provide safe housing? And in terms of affordable housing, how far should government go to make housing affordable for its residents?
Thank you. The rental registration program, I think, is a very good program. I think the point of it, for me, was to make sure, because being born and raised here, I had to rent off of different landlords. And I know what it's like to live in a house or an apartment that is constantly needs repair, and you have to chase your landlord, but he's there at the beginning of the month to get his rent check. As far as the program in the future, I would like to see us work with the landlords. We have nothing to gain personally by this rental inspection program. This is for the tenants and residents of Meadville. We want them to be able to live in safe, affordable houses. We want to make a housing program that they can get loans or grants to buy housing here. We need a housing plan that some of the houses are outdated. They'd be too expensive to repair. So we need to look at some type of other homes to be put into Meadville. We need to look at also helping the landlords, because I understand that it's going to be costly, but there are loans and grants available to them as well to rehab their own properties. I would like to see also see that Meadville continues to look at bringing in new businesses with this, because when you have housing, safe and affordable housing, businesses are going to come. And I think that will help our young kids that are graduating and going away from school to want to come back here, because they know they can buy and afford to buy a low-income home.
Thank you. We'll wrap up that question with Marcy Kantz.
I'm entirely in favor of enforcing our current property maintenance code. I'm also in agreement that it's not being enforced, and that we certainly have our share of unattractive and likely unsafe homes. Our 4 PA United Council members were successful in passing a rental inspection program. However, they claim it will be revenue neutral, but we have already earmarked $20,000 for staff at City Hall, and it doesn't appear to me that the registration fees will cover the cost of the program. It is currently being challenged. It is also currently being challenged in a court by a local group of landlords for multiple reasons, one being an invasion of privacy issue. What I never understood is why we don't use the process we currently had on our books for decades to enforce our current property maintenance code. When I asked why tenants didn't use the current system, I was told that the tenants were too afraid of landlord retaliation against them for using the system. But now we have an anti-retaliation ordinance, so they are completely protected, hence eliminating the fears in using the current system. In addition, the current system is not being contested by landlords or tenants. It covers both rental and owner-occupied homes, and it doesn't pose an invasion of privacy issue, nor does it create more bureaucracy, which we know uses more taxpayer dollars. I don't feel that the city of Meadville can afford to be in the business of affordable housing. I think we should enforce our current property maintenance code.
Okay, thank you. We'll start this next question with Autumn Vogel. If you exclude the Holland Towers, the senior high-rise, the City of Meadville Housing Authority has about 25% of its units vacant. In the next 4 years, how would you as a council member address the high vacancy rate to help the people and families who are on these long waiting lists for housing?
Thanks for that question, Rick. We're lucky to have a housing authority, so we do have affordable housing, right? That's a public service, that's a public good, a housing authority, which we're enabled by state legislation to have here in the city. Unfortunately, right, our hands are kind of tied, right? So we appoint a housing authority, we appoint those members, right? But then actually the day-to-day work of a housing authority after their appointment is largely, right, that's in the hands of the housing authority, and that's in the hands of the manager. We've come alongside residents of the housing authority to work for better conditions, to bring some public attention to the conditions that they're facing, bed bug infestations, right, broken elevators in Holland Towers. And so we're glad to use the platform that we have to do that and to help folks in that way. In terms of getting people into those units, I probably would have to look into what that would take if that's a matter of those units being renovated and modified and updated. I know that they recently got $3 million to fix up Holland Towers. So right, not sure if that vacancy is due to fixing some issues over time or not, but we recognize, right, that there's some balance to strike in terms of, right, the authority of the housing authority, right, which is their housing authority, but the need for, right, the fact that they've got these long waiting lists speaks to the need and the growing need for more affordable housing in the city. So glad to work with the Housing Authority to do what we can to fill those vacant units. I didn't realize there were that many, but also to expand the availability of affordable housing in the city.
Thank you. Larry, go to you next.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're working along with the Housing Authority. I think it's a good program. And I was unaware that there's 25, as you say, but as Autumn stated, I'd like to find out what the reasoning. It could be more that it's not handicap accessible. For whatever reason, that's something that needs to be looked into, because we do want to increase the population right in town. So we do need to make sure that these units are available and they're up to code. As far as the housing situation, I think that she stated there are some houses that we all know that need to be repaired. But I also feel that, again, it's going to take the work of city council and landlords and tenants, a group effort, not just the landlords against this or tenants against, I think for us to make any stride, we all have to come together and sit and talk out our differences and make sure that we all understand the purpose and the function of the program instead of listening to rumors. We've held meetings downtown, invited landlords. Some feel it wasn't proper. I don't know how else you invite them to let them know that, hey, we're having this meeting. City council doors are open. We're there on, now it's the first and third Tuesday, but we were there the first and third Wednesday, that if you have questions or complaints, you could come to city council and those questions and complaints could be answered for you. I feel that a lack of education and knowledge of the program is what is fueling this fire, and fear and intimidation. I think that a lot of people are, even though we have the anti-discrimination policy, there are still ways that people can be intimidated. And I feel that that's something that we need to completely eliminate.
Thank you. Marcy, we'll go to you next.
Boards were formed years ago to manage these departments. As a council person, I would feel that it would be imprudent of me to think that I would know better with zero experience in public housing. I would allow the boards to handle the situations at Holland Towers. I felt that the intrusion of the mayor in the situation at Holland Towers is yet another example of this city council choosing a side and not solving a problem, but causing fear and agitation within the community. This was also overreaching by the mayor at a minimum, since the mayor cannot do anything without the direction of council in a formal meeting. And I assure you, Jim Roa would not have approved the overreaching call to HUD. So I would, as a council person, allow the board that was formed years ago to solve the issues of the housing.
Thank you. We'll wrap up with Bill here.
Pretty simple, really. We have a housing authority, and I don't think that city council should overstep their lane on some things, and they should let the housing authority, they're the experts there, and they can take care of it, and they know how to do it. If they need our assistance and help, then they can come and get our assistance and help, but we have the housing authority to deal with this. I do believe that some of those vacancies, some places are being renovated, I believe, but once again, I just go back to, we have a housing authority. That's what the housing authority's job is, and I think they're good at it, and I would trust them to do their job unless they want to come with us with a particular thing they needed our help with. And I do have to say, I agree with Marcy. I know there was a situation where at least the mayor, I don't know if anybody else on the council was involved, that went over their heads and, speaking to HUD, I don't think that was appropriate. All that does is cause problems with us here and brings negative attention, and we don't need that. So I would let the housing authority deal with it, because that's their job.
Thank you.
Kind of staying on that topic in a way, one of the infrequently talked about powers council has is the appointment of members to boards and authorities. And we've got the situations we've had at Holland Towers with the bug infestations, also had things like adding fluoride to the water supply. As a member of council, how will you screen candidates for positions on these boards? And perhaps more importantly, how will you hold authority members accountable for their actions if that starts to go counter to either council or the general public's philosophy as what's going on? And we start this question with Larry.
Yes, the They're appointed, a lot of them, they write in, or when we have vacancies, we have a lot of people that are interested in volunteering on these different committees. And that's the best way, and that shows me that if they're willing to take their time out to volunteer on these committees, that they have an interest in doing so. As far as us having control, we don't have the control that people somehow think that we do. As council, we have to listen to what the residents say. We also have to keep in consideration legally what we are allowed to do. And a lot of times it may conflict with what we want to do. So that's, you know, it's not just a cut and dry thing of being able to say this council can do this. And also each council has their own set of rules that they follow pertaining to whether it's the Parks Department or water, things of that nature. We are here for them to bring their concerns to us, the public to bring their concerns. We talk with our city manager, we give them a recommendation, but we do not and cannot force them to follow our rules. And again, I think it's very important to realize that these people that are on these committees are people that volunteer their time. And again, that means that they care and they want to be a part of the city.
Thank you. Marcy, a question to you. Do you need it repeated?
Sure.
Okay. We're talking about the powers of appointment that council has. And again, there have been some issues that have come up, whether it's Holland Towers, water fluoride, other issues. As a member of council, how will you screen candidates for positions on the authorities? And perhaps more importantly, how will you hold authority members accountable for their actions?
First, I'd like to say that I personally did not have a problem with the way that the Housing Authority handled the Holland Towers. I believe that those board members had been on the board for a very long time. That meant to me that they had a passion to be on that board and that they knew a lot about what they were doing for that particular department. As for appointments, I know that there were some changes made for appointing people on boards. I'm not familiar with exactly what the changes were. I didn't see a problem with the way it was done before. As for negative actions, I think that that would probably be discussed in a meeting with City Council. I do know that on some boards that there were applicants, qualified applicants, that did not receive an interview. I think that if you apply, you should receive an interview. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, thank you very much. Bill, Lawrence, question to you.
Sure. Obviously, I mean, never being on city council before, I've never had the privilege of being in that situation. Obviously, Larry and Autumn have gotten to do that before. They've gotten to appoint people and been involved with that process, so it would be completely new to me, obviously. I guess I would look at it from almost like a job interview, right? People would come in, and I would, however, make sure I'm working with all the other members of council, no matter who it would be. You know, we all would need to discuss that. I'm not the kind of person that would say, hey, this is the person, that's my friend, that person's going on the board. I think it's something where we need to have a very open conversation and dialogue with the other council members, because it's a very important thing that you're appointing. So we would have that conversation. Hopefully we could come up with an agreement. We would all figure it out. And then as far as if they weren't doing a good job, again, I wouldn't make it public at first. I think that's something that we would talk about ahead of time, and then possibly you call people in and you talk to them privately and you talk about the issues that are going on and you try to solve the problem. And you try not to make a mountain out of a molehill if you don't have to. I think that's how I would achieve that. Never had to do it before, but I think that's the way I'd go about it.
All right, thank you. Autumn, a question to you.
Yeah. So I'm glad, Bill, to hear that you agreed that a transparent process is the way to go. So when Larry and I got on City Council in 2020, right, one of the things we had ran on was making it easier for folks to get involved and participate in the decisions that impact all of us. I had worked for the city, right, and I knew that there was no appointment process. It was very much what you were talking about, Marcy, right? It was I know this guy, there's an opening on the commission, let's appoint him. So if you didn't know somebody, or if you were in the right place at the right time, right, you were not going to be appointed. I had a few people who never heard back, right? They reached out, they knew there was an opening, one on the Housing Authority, one on the Recreation Authority, and they never got word back, right? Because there was no standard process. So it was one of the earliest things that Larry and I did was we passed a standardized process that creates a process for appointment, right? So we post the openings when they exist, we interview people, and then we make those appointments public. We have had to change that based on some feedback from our new solicitor, but basically, you know, we have lived up to our word and made it a more transparent process and easier, therefore, for people to participate. Since then, we've filled the vacancies that we've had, and we've had some positions that were competitive. So we had some positions where more people were applying than we had seats to fill. And in terms of relationships to authorities, right, you know, we've talked a little bit about holding folks accountable, but I also want to talk to you about like working in partnership with our authorities, because we've done that in some really big ways to bring resources to Meadville. We worked with the Market Authority to bring, to support them in getting some big grants, $50,000 and more. MASA, we worked with the Sewer Authority, right? They got $25 million, half in loans and $16 million in grants. To replace our sewer authority, right? And that was in partnership with the city that they were able to do that. Also, we established an environmental advisory commission, which has already brought money into our city. And so those partnerships have been productive relationships, and I'm proud that we've been able to do that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. This next question, we'll start with Marcy. It kind of relates to housing. There kind of appears to be an increase in people claiming to be homeless, sleeping in city parks and other city-owned property, and this has caused some people in the community not to be able to enjoy or use these areas as intended. Would you support an ordinance that would prohibit overnight staying / camping on city-owned property without a permit?
Yes, I would support that. I think that we should also lean on our nonprofits and the social services that they provide to help the homeless. There's definitely been an increase. I've seen it around the building that we have our businesses in. I know that Bill has seen it, and I know that other businesses have also experienced homeless people breaking into the buildings and staying there. It's definitely a problem, but I don't believe it's a city function. I would be in favor of an ordinance where that you can't stay in parks overnight, and I believe that we allow our nonprofits to go tax exempt for a reason, and the reason is because they provide social services to our city. So I would lean on them, but I would be in favor of the ordinance.
Thank you very much. Bill Lawrence, same question to you.
We can't ignore the homeless problem. I think we've got one that is steadily getting worse in Meadville. I do see it when I go to work every morning, so it's definitely happening, and I would be in favor of that ordinance. I do agree with Marcy. We have a lot of agencies here that are able to help, and I think we need to make sure we are in communication in utilizing those agencies. If that takes city council to help get those people together, to get that conversation going, I would be happy to do that, and I would be happy to organize that. That being said, then, I do think that these, again, like Marcy said, these places are tax exempt. We do need their help. They are experts. So I think I would help get them together and let them solve that issue with any assistance that we could give them.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, Autumn Vogel. Autumn?
Yeah. So certainly we are seeing an increase in unhoused populations. I'm close with one of the creators of the Arc Green Space, right? And she came to my office hours, told me that, right, we've created this wonderful space. An unintended consequence is now we're seeing folks stay in the park. It's getting colder, right? And what do we do about that? And that's confirmed too. I was at the quarterly meeting of the Crawford County Coalition on Housing Needs. They convene a roundtable every several months, and that was confirmed there in that space too. Bill, appreciate you saying that, because that is in the works, right? So we got folks at that meeting to sign up to participate in a roundtable discussion, to bring churches together, service providers together in the same room to talk about what can we do, what supports do we already have in place, and what gaps do we have to address to get people housing. And so that's for the short term, right? That's looking at this winter, that's looking at, you know, the immediate problem. But that's, I'll also want to understate, right, that's a priority going into this housing action plan, right, that the city is creating, right? A housing action plan that ensures affordable housing and keeping people, right, housed, stability in housing. We want people to have options and to be able to stay where they are. And so that's why we're taking this long-term view, right, again, so that we can bring resources to our community to support that. So that we can have a plan moving forward to how it address in the long term.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much. And Larry?
Yes, the homeless situation is a problem. I think that, in agreement with everyone here, that we do have agencies that address these problems. However, obviously it's not enough because we're seeing an increase in homeless people. And some of it we have to understand, these people choose to want to be out. They don't work, they don't have an income, and it's easier for them to move about. I've spoken with a couple people and I asked them, you know, have you gone to CHAPS or have you gone to the Center for Family Services for help? They don't want to go, they don't want to have permanent housing. They like being free. Now in the winter, a lot of them utilize these services. But come spring, summer, fall, they choose. Ordinance to prevent that in the city parks, yes, I think that would be, it's safe. It's providing safety for anybody that's out at night. I would be in agreement with that as long as it's not targeting, and as long as we're not setting the city up for any retribution from the attorneys and groups. There are going to be groups that are going to feel that they have that right, that they may pay taxes, whatever. It's a situation that's growing, and it's not a situation that I think can have a quick fix. I think we need to bring all the organizations together and hopefully get some of the homeless to understand why some of them would rather be homeless. We don't know. Some of them may be Vietnam vets or vets from different areas of the war. We don't know. So that's something that we need to look at and then start talking and figure out a plan of action to take with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next question, we'll start back at the beginning of the table here. Go with Bill Lawrence. Lots of promising young people leave the area after college or high school and unfortunately don't return. What can City Council do to incentivize young people to stay or come back to Meadville and invest in the city?
Thank you for the question. Like I said with my opening statement, that's my vision of Meadville that I worry is not happening, is our young people don't want to come back here and live here. There are some things that, with this particular topic, that the City Council can be doing. We need to have a very friendly, business-friendly City Council. And quite honestly, I don't really see that happening right now. Businesses aren't going to move in if property taxes are so high, because people aren't going to want to move into Meadville because property taxes are so high. We have to get everything under control. So the way our budget works is it has to be balanced every year before we start. So like right now, I think we're looking at somewhere fairly close to $500,000. Is that, I think that's accurate, $500,000. So when we go to start the next year, those property taxes, if we don't find cuts in spending, those property taxes are going to have to be raised by a decent amount. So what I would do is I would make sure that my main focus was going through line by line. It would be really difficult, but I believe it's doable to go through that budget, and we have to find cuts in the budget so that we do not have to raise property taxes again. We cannot keep raising property taxes, because if you keep raising property taxes, businesses don't want to move in, and if there's no businesses and the people don't want to move in, because why would you want to live in Meadville when if you look at Vernon and you look at West Mead, you're getting a bigger lot, bigger house with half the taxes. We have to address that problem. So in order to get the young people to want to move back here, those are the steps that need to be taken, is getting the budget under control, getting these property taxes lowered, and having, and I would meet with, I would have a business roundtable. We have such great resources in Meadville. And I would get those business leaders together, and I would say, what can we do to help create and spark more business to revitalize downtown Meadville? I know there's grants that we can get. I know that we have a lot of people that love Meadville and they want to spend money in Meadville and they want to invest in Meadville, and those are the kind of people that I would bring together and get their ideas.
Thank you. We'll go next to Autumn.
Sure. So the question, how to encourage young people to stay or return to Meadville. And I think as a young person, when I was younger, I chose to stay in Meadville. And I did that because I met people here and I got involved in this community. And like I said in my opening statement, I fell in love with this town. And I have seen lots of people, lots of other young people around me and people even younger than me do the same thing, right? We find our place here, we find jobs here, we find relationships, and we start to care about this place and realize that we can make this place our home. I've even seen people return back to Meadville, and I'm coaxing a few more people. So we'll see how that goes. But you know, I really think it's about making Meadville a place where lots of people want to call it home. We've been working hard to do that. You know, we've been doing that too, and trying to start that early, right? So we did launch a junior council person program, right, to give young people starting off in high school a seat at the table, a seat at city council's literal table. They'll sit with us, they'll help us make decisions, and they can help us, right, think about some of the issues that we're kind of grappling with from the perspective of young people, right? And hopefully they'll see their place in Meadville, they'll see their future here, and their peers will too. And so we're really trying to walk the walk with this, right, and give young people a place at the table. Also working to make jobs that are appealing to young folks too. So I've been working with the Crawford County Career Technical Center and some state programs to get us ready, right, and set up for jobs of the future, right, to invest in our houses, weatherization, and it's really exciting stuff and lots of resources tied to it, right, that can come to Meadville and create livable wage, family-sustaining jobs that folks can choose to make this place their home.
Thank you. Larry?
That is a concern of mine, because I've had family members that have gone to college, wanted to stay here, but the job market just didn't provide the income that they needed after 4, 6, 8 years of college. So one of the things I would be interested in is working alongside with the Tool and Die, Meadville Medical Center, different businesses here, sit down and find out what, first of all, the pay, what they would have to do, is it commensurable with across the nation, what is attracting the young kids away from here. Also, we need to have incentives for buying a home, whether it's a tax break or a low interest loan. We need to give them a reason to want to come back here. We need to continue to invest in our parks, make sure that they have safe playgrounds. We need to make sure that our emergency services are up to par, not cutting services. We need to find new revenue to come into Meadville, so we don't have to continue to raise taxes to pay for these services that everybody needs and wants. We need to make sure that when our children leave, that they know that if I want to come back here and work as an engineer, that there's a company that I may be able to get a job at. We need to look at these companies and say, what can we offer you to relocate here? Is it a long time lease on property? Is it taxes and cuts on tax or whatever? We need to take time to look and find out what needs to be done to draw business here, and as well as our kids, because if there's work here, they're going to stay. But it has to be, again, commensurable with wages across the nation.
Thank you. Marcy?
I think our biggest problem is our high property taxes. That does drive people outside of the city. They go to Westmead, they go to Vernon. It also happens with our businesses. So in order to bring business into Meadville, I think that we need to get our property taxes under control because we need to be competitive. We clearly do a great job with our police, fire, and EMS and caring for the streets, sidewalks, and parks. But I think that we need to keep our government goals at those goals and not stretch our city too thin with overreaching programs such as the Climate Action Plan, public outreach, gatherings and events, the rental inspection program, and workforce development. I don't think that those are things that the city should be doing. I think we're asking too much of our property taxpayers to cover all of these programs. I also think that the tone of the PA United group is not a positive one for our community. Right off of their Crawford County United.org page, it says that Crawford County United is a grassroots member-led organization to unite everyone who is struggling to make a living against the people who profit from those struggles. Who are the people who are profiting from those struggles in Meadville? That's what I would like to know. They also have a local community, let me think of what they call, Crawford County organizer from PA United posted on their Facebook page that we're not from the left and we're not from the right. We're from the bottom and we're coming for those on top. That came from the community organizer from Crawford County United.org. That's her job is listed on that page, and that's what was on her Facebook page. I don't think that that's a very positive tone to set for Meadville.
Thank you. Next question will go with Autumn to start it off. In December 2022, the city received nearly $500,000 grant for the police department, as well as to use up to 10 officer body cameras with audio recording and the associated equipment that goes with that. The equipment has not yet gone into use in Meadville, and there hasn't been much more said about it since. Should getting the body cameras in use be a priority for the city going forward?
Yes, so I think that we all, one thing maybe we all agree on at this table, I don't know, is the importance of public safety, right? And that's a thing that we have invested in. The city council, Larry and I have sat on, we've invested in our public safety, and we've worked with our police officers on lots of fronts to ensure the safety of residents and to ensure that we've got a full police force, a full complement. So we reinstated police pensions. We just struck this deal with Vernon Township, just came from that town hall. So we've been able to make really good strides with our police department. I think the last update that I got was maybe a week or two ago, because I did ask about this. I heard about this from a resident who reached out to me during her office hours to ask about the status of body cams. And I think it was, as with all things in the world, there's supply chain issues, and the body cams were simply backed up, and so we didn't get them until very recently. And then it's a matter of uploading the software, right? These are things you got to be really careful about as you implement. So I've been assured that that's going into effect pretty soon. And what's also being launched is this new Crime Watch program. Chief Stefanucci introduced it tonight, and so really proud of the ways in which the Meadville Police Department have been taking people's safety really seriously and trying to engage people in that process. So yeah, the delay there, my understanding, the delay there was simply supply chain issue, and we're excited to be able to expand the ways in which we're able to be accountable to our citizens and keep people safe. So, yes.
Larry?
Yeah, I agree with everything Autumn said, and to go a little bit further, it's not only for the safety of residents. I think it's more importantly as well as the safety of our police officers, because there's a lot of accusations, especially on Friday, Saturday nights when someone's had a little bit too much to drink. It's always the police officer's fault. I think this will help even prevent false lawsuits or a police officer being brought in on a call that someone said you did this or did that. It's right there in black and white. There's no disputing it. I think that's something that we need. I think it's going to help both our police officers with safety and our residents to feel more secure with our police department, to know that, hey, they're going to act in a professional manner because they are on camera. They're not going to risk saying or doing something that's unbecoming of a police officer. So I think it's a good thing, and as Autumn stated, it's on backlog. We have to just wait for it, but our chief and the rest of the police officers I've spoken with, they're looking forward to it, and I think they understand how it will benefit not only them, but the residents of Meadville as well.
Thank you. Marcy?
I, of course, think that that should happen. That benefits the police. It also benefits our residents. It provides a safety mechanism to ensure proper behavior of everyone involved. So I definitely think that that should be a priority for our police.
Thank you. And back to Bill.
Yeah, I can't see where there would be a negative. It's something that protects the officer and the people that they're dealing with. So everybody involved is protected with body cameras. So obviously I think it's a good thing. I do know that the city council has been asked by people over email about what's going on with the body cameras, and they've not gotten responses back. So it's nice that you guys give a response. Because I've been asked that, and I just actually learned about it the other day because of that. Someone asked me. So yeah, obviously I'm a fan of it. So it's a good thing for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back in September, City Council moved forward and had the action filed to have the county do a countywide reassessment of property values. Now, that complaint alleges that Crawford County hasn't done a countywide reassessment of property values since 1969. And it claimed that the county's taxation system is so outdated that it results in severe and pervasive disparities in assessments among the property owners. Will doing a reassessment bring more property taxes to the city? Larry, we'll start with this question with you.
That's a good question, and thanks. It's tough to answer because the way it basically pans out is there's a saying that Eric Henry likes to say, a third will profit, a third will lose. And then there's some that it's not going to affect. And to a certain extent, that's true. But the thing, what it's going to do, it is going to make sure that the taxes are dispersed more evenly throughout the city of Meadville. Some people are living in homes that are upper costs of $300,000-$400,000, but their taxes don't show that. Other people are living in homes that are only valued at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and their taxes show that they're valued more. So this reassessment would take the broad look at the areas and hopefully help those that are paying too much in taxes according to reports that we've received. Now, is it going to help everybody? No. And also what they need to know is that if you feel your taxes are too high, you can go to the Crawford County Commissioners. You can file with them and ask them to reassess your property. And again, according to Eric Henry, most people that come down and do that are successful. So there's things that people can do on their own to maybe lower their own. But as far as the city, the commissioners doing it, yeah, it's been since 1969. And again, people are living in properties that are either undervalued or overvalued. So that, I think, spreading that out evenly will make a big difference in our town.
Thank you. Marcy, question to you.
I think everybody understands at this point, after a lot of discussion about the assessments, that the assessment's not necessarily going to increase revenue in the city of Meadville. It will raise some taxes. Some will stay the same, just like Larry said, and some will go down. But my concern is the relationship between the city and the county. I don't know, but what I would ask is, did anybody walk across the street and talk to the people in the county offices? It very much concerns me that the city of Meadville is suing the county and getting sued. So I think we have relationship issues, and I would like to see that corrected. The county does support the city, and I think it's very poor relations when you are in lawsuits.
All right, thank you. Bill Lawrence, that question to you.
Sure, thank you.
Assessment.
So that's one of those issues with the county assessment that people are all over the place on. You can talk to people on the Republican, Democrats, and some Republicans want an assessment, some don't want an assessment, Democrats don't want an assessment, Democrats don't want an assessment. It seems to be all over the place. And people have their reasons for, wanting it or thinking it's a good idea or not thinking it's a good idea. The truth is nobody really knows exactly what it's going to do for their property, right? So we don't know, and like, I guess Larry was the first one to say it. The saying is a third will go up, a third will stay the same, a third will go down. That's possibly accurate. I can't say for sure. But I do know that if we do the reassessment, I believe the numbers that were given were somewhere around $4 to $5 million to do the assessment. I think that's accurate. So I'm very concerned about what that is going to cost, because that has to be passed on as a county tax to the taxpayer. So if we're going to do a $5 million assessment, I'm very worried about that. And we don't know exactly what the result is going to be for every individual home. I'm also very concerned about why we couldn't figure that out with the county commissioners, why we have to have a lawsuit. I feel like I could build a relationship that we can talk to the county commissioners and figure out why we have to have a lawsuit over it. And finally, I actually agree with Larry over there. I can't believe I just said that, Larry. I agree with you over there. That if you go and get your taxes reassessed, you can just go do that if you think yours are too high. I know plenty of people that have done that and they've gotten them lowered. So I don't know if I'd necessarily be for reassessment, but I'm definitely not for paying $5 million for it. I'm definitely not for a lawsuit over it.
All right, thank you. Autumn Vogel?
Sure. So we're in agreement, right? The city of Meadville doesn't stand to see any increase in revenue with a property reassessment, with an updated assessment across the county. But the reason that we're fighting for it, right, is because it is fair, and we want people to pay their fair share of taxes. So this one-third statistic has been thrown around, and just to underscore what that means, 1/3 of taxpayers across the county are overpaying in their taxes. 1/3 of county taxpayers are overpaying. They are paying more than they should be. And a lot of those people are in the city of Meadville, right? We've got housing that is lower valued now than maybe it was at the time of our original assessment, right? A lot of our residents are paying more in county taxes than their fair share, right? And therefore they're subsidizing other parts of the county. Even though the city of Meadville doesn't stand to gain in terms of our general fund or our revenue, we think that it's upon us, the people who were elected to represent our city, to do that and to fight for what's fair for our residents. We did try to meet with the county. That was one of our earliest meetings that we had at the county building. They invited us over there because we were talking about reassessment. The idea for reassessment came up in our strategic management plan, I think in 2021. And I proposed a resolution that would just ask the county to do a reassessment or to consider reassessment, right? And the council at the time voted that down. So we've tried lots of ways, right? And unfortunately, we've been pressed into this corner if we really do want to fight for residents to update the oldest assessment in the state of Pennsylvania and to fight for what's fair for our taxpayers in Meadville. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Next question, we'll start with Marcy. And city's property tax rate's risen nearly 14% since 2020. Now in August, city finance director Tim Grove said the operating deficit for 2024 was going to be about $600,000. Now it's down to about $500,000. But even to balance that, we're looking at probably between 3 and 4 mills of real estate tax, because you have to have a budget balance to start the year. What should be done, and how would you do it to trim the budget deficit of roughly $500,000?
Well, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the budget. I would not be in favor of doing another tax increase. And I know that we can't even tax our way out of this problem anyways. We have to find other ways and other things to cut out of our government. Of course, I would not be in favor of cutting services, but I think we can cut programs, and we can ask for departments to come up with a certain percentage of cuts. I do not want to raise taxes on our property taxes again. We cannot ask that. That's what I believe is our biggest problem in Meadville. It's why people avoid coming to Meadville, including businesses. It's expensive. People are mentioning that when I ask them if they're gonna buy a house in Meadville, they're like, oh no, that's their reaction. Oh no, not Meadville. because of our taxes. So they're saying that what our services that we provide are not enough to allow them to live in the city of Meadville, or to drive them to live in the city of Meadville. That's what they're saying when they go to Vernon and when they go to Westmead. My husband and I recently did that when, about 4 years ago, when we bought our house. When we were looking at homes in Vernon, it decreases our property values because we agreed that we would pay less for the house in Meadville and more for the house in Vernon because of the property taxes. So an increase in property taxes is not a solution for me. But, you know, we pay our city manager over $100,000 a year. She also gets benefits. Tim, in conjunction with Tim Groves, I would lean on them to help us resolve the budget deficit.
Thank you. Bill Lawrence, question to you.
It's the most important issue to me, what you're bringing up. And absolutely, I would not vote to increase property taxes again. We just can't do it. But we have to solve the problem. So, like we've already explained a few times, we have to start with a balanced budget, right? So, we have to cut the spending. And what some people don't realize how Meadville works is it's a council manager style government. So what that basically means is you have a city council and they appoint the city manager. The city manager, as Marcy said, gets paid a pretty decent salary to really be in charge of a lot of things. And one of those things that I would put on our city manager is that city manager needs to be working closely with the heads of each of the departments, and they need to be coming through and finding some cuts in the budget. Now, we have to go through and see exactly what that cut would need to be. Let's just make up a number, say it's 5%. I would have no problem saying to our city manager, hey, listen, you need to talk with the heads of these departments, and we need to find a 5% cut. I'm making up that number, I don't know what we would need yet. But you need to find a 5% cut in each of these departments in order to make our budget work. Now, if we can do that, we need to start getting it so we don't have to raise our property taxes, okay? If we can do that and we can cut the spending, property taxes are going to be lower. People are going to start moving into Meadville. They're going to want to be here. We're going to have more money for more programs to make it more attractive for Meadville. When more people move in and they buy houses in Meadville, they start paying that 1% earned income tax we get. We start getting more of an LST tax. We start getting more of a per capita tax. All those things give us more money in our revenue, so we don't have to find cuts as much. All right, so that's what it all comes down to, is us getting more money in by having business and people wanting to move here, like I said at the beginning, and going through, and as hard as it is, you got to go through and you have to find cuts in that budget. And finally, we need to talk to some of these tax exempt places that are not paying as much money as they should. And they can either be giving more money or they can be giving us something towards our budget, maybe donating more.
Thank you. Autumn? This question to you.
Sure. So obviously, there's alignment up here that our tax system is broken, right? The reliance that the state forces upon us, on municipalities like ours to rely on property taxes, sets us up for failure, especially in situations like the one that we're in. Every year, right, the cost of services goes up by at least a mill's worth of money, and that's just inflation, right? That's just the natural cost of things rising. And that means that we can either raise taxes to keep up with the cost, we borrow, or we cut services, as we've talked about. We really believe in the services that we have in our police, in our fire department, in our public works, and our roads and parks, right? And we want to make sure that we can continue to offer those things, right? Because that's what makes Meadville a place people want to come. And so, you know, we also, you know, the council before has borrowed a lot of money, right? And so we've really been working hard to address, like I said in my opening statement, the budget deficit. When we started the year, our projected deficit was about $1 million, right? We were $1 million out from being able to balance our budget. That's what we were looking at for the end of the year. We said, you know, we want to have an earlier budgeting process. We want to involve people in that, and we're going to work all year to address this. And so now we've gotten down to closer to that $500. I heard $400,000 is what we were out. Right, and so we've been able to reduce that anticipated deficit by $600,000, maybe $500, depending on where you're getting your numbers, Keith. And we've done that through raising revenue, right? We've brought in the last 4 years that Larry and I have been on city council, almost $7 million in grants. That's money that taxpayers are saved. We've instituted the EMS. We've got these contracts with the Meadville Police Department, with Vernon, and the Medical Center. We're looking at doing a tax-exempt audit, right, to ensure that all the properties that are off the tax rolls deserve to be so, and we can get them back on if we need to. And we're also working to lobby the state to make changes to the local services tax to bring in more revenue to the city. Thanks.
Larry?
Yes.
Question to you regarding the, where do you make cuts with the budget?
That's a hard question because, as Autumn stated, you really don't want to make cuts, because if you're cutting, you're taking away some needed service. I would rather look at, let's find different ways of bringing in revenue. Let's look at, again, state and federal grants that are available and apply for those instead of raising taxes. I don't feel we have to we need to raise taxes right now. I don't think it's a good thing because the economy does not support it. We have a low income here. Again, I think if we start looking at different avenues, as Autumn stated, we have the EMS service now that has brought in money, that's bringing in revenue. We have worked out the partnership with Allegheny College and Meadville Medical Center. We need to continue to look at expanding our services or offering our services to other areas, whether it's our road crews that are going out, our sewer system, but we have services that we can provide and offer to other areas and contract with them. And I think those are the things we need to start looking at. If we're going to cut taxes, or raise taxes, that should be the last thing that we do, is raise taxes just because we want to generate. After we have exhausted all ways of looking to try and bring money in, then you have to raise taxes. But that should be the last resort. That's my opinion. And I also think that with the tax-exempt properties, sure, we need to look at them and see, are they eligible to still be on the tax-exempt roll, and make sure that not only council but people understand the requirements for being considered tax-exempt. It's not just because you're a church. What else makes you tax-exempt? What other guidelines do you have to follow? Do you have to provide some type of care or services for the city to be tax exempt? Speaking of Meadville Medical Center, or do you have to, what is it that makes you tax exempt? We need to look at those things and figure out how we can get them back on the tax roll if they're
Larry,
off.
I'm going to have to cut you off.
Okay.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Bill. Last year, Meadville's Police Officers Union successfully negotiated a return from a defined contribution retirement benefits plan to a traditional benefits plan. The Firefighters Union currently has a defined contribution plan. If on council, should the city offer to return to a traditional plan to its firefighters?
Well, so I do know that when the police got that new plan, they also made a lot of concessions to make that plan. So I suppose what we have to do, again, not being on city council yet and getting to see all the numbers is a slight disadvantage. I wasn't involved with that other process. But if we were able to do it with the police, we could have the conversation with the fire and see. I want to see exactly what those concessions were, because by speaking with Jim Roa, he was happy with, and he also voted for, the change in pension. So it's possible that it's something we could do. I wouldn't want to give a yes or a no without knowing more about exactly what they gave up and what we offered, to make sure that it wasn't hurting our budget too much. Because one thing, unfortunately, that we can't do is we can't keep stretching the budget further than we are capable of doing so. So I guess I would say possibly, but we'd have to look. I would want to see exactly what we did with the police department and see if that's something that would also work with the fire department.
Thank you. Autumn?
Sure. So I think that the reinstatement of police pensions is a great example of our city council working with our workers, working with our unions, our public sector workers. Right? The police came to us and they wanted to see their pensions reinstated. They were willing to give some concessions, like you said, living in town being one of them. for the first 3 years. And so, you know, that was a deal that we were able to strike. And, you know, the appeal to us, right, is that we were able then to recruit more officers to the force, right? We didn't have our full complement. And so we're able to fill those jobs, right? Give more of those people good jobs, right? That see their pensions back, right? I believe in public pensions. I think that it's a good thing. You know, we've had, right, on a different issue, a good working relationship with the Firefighters Union, right? That was the group that brought to us the idea for an ambulance service in our fire department, right? And so they haven't asked us for pensions back yet. What they asked us was to instate an ambulance service in our fire department. And we were happy to work alongside them to do that, to support them in that way. And, you know, maybe the time will come when they will make that ask, but all I can speak to is what we have done and have seen in the ways in which we have worked, I think, in strong partnership with the unions that represent our public workers, and I've probably been able to do that, to make their jobs better, and make Meadville a good place to work and be. Thanks.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, I agree. We have, I feel, a great, excuse me, great working relationship with both our city police department and our fire department. As Autumn stated, I think if the fire department came and said, hey, this is something we want you to consider, yeah, we would definitely wholeheartedly look at, but they have not. And we, as council, we recognize what, when they need something, as, for example, for equipment. If they say, hey, we need this, well, our staff is looking to find a way to get grants to cover whatever it is that they need. So if they came to us and said, hey, listen, we want to look into the possibility of getting the benefit back, are you going to be willing to work? Yeah, we'll sit down at the table and talk about it. The only fear that I would have would be, is it going to increase taxes? Or is that the fear that's going to be put out there, that it's going to increase taxes? Or are we going to look for grants? You know, we need to make sure that we do everything, again, that possible, so we're not raising taxes, putting the burden back on the working man. I think that we also need to consider the fact that our city fire department and our police department, they all need to be safe, okay? And if you're talking about benefiting benefits to bring our fire departments and make them feel safe, not only safe physically, but safe financially and secure. That's why a lot of them take these jobs, is for the security down the road when they retire. So again, the bottom line, it would be something that I would be willing to sit at the table and talk with them about.
Thank you. Marcy?
So now I believe that this is definitely going to be a topic of conversation with the fire. I mean, of course they're going to want that. We're all discussing it right now. However, does it fit our budget? It's not a matter of not wanting to do something like that for our police and fire. It's a matter of, can we afford it? And who are we being competitive with? You know, I think business-wise, when I'm trying to hire staff at my daycare, I know the rates that I have to be competitive with. And am I willing to pay my staff a little bit more to keep them happy and to get the best staff that I possibly can? Yes, but I have to find other ways to make up for that expense. And that's exactly what our city would have to do. So I can't say whether I would be in favor of it or not in favor of it. I would have to look and see how we would make it work, and even if we could make it work, and if it's something that makes us competitive, or are we already competitive? It's just using logic. It's not a matter of not wanting to do something like that for our police and fire.
All right, thank you. Next question, we'll start with Autumn. You know, when we do these forums, often we ask the candidates about open and transparent government. Earlier this fall, council voted to approve a police services contract with Vernon Township after amending their agenda, which was already posted, to include the item on approving the Vernon police agreement. which was not posted on the agenda. This move seemed to be in opposition of Pennsylvania's Office of Open Records, which says a reason for changes must be stated prior to any action by an agency, which includes voting. What can you do over the next 4 years to ensure open and transparent government by the city of Meadville?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that question, I guess. So, right, we were presented at the last minute with a contract. It was presented by our city manager, and it was presented by our chief of police, who we trust, right? As was pointed out earlier, right? We pay our city manager, who's a professional city manager, to work out deals like this, to ensure that our city is on a good financial foot. And you know, we entrust our police chief to look out for our department in some of the same ways. And so when they came to us just ahead of that meeting, right, and told us, right, here are the reasons that we need to move on this tonight, I can say I wasn't in favor of it, and I did try to push us to have a town hall meeting, but we were presented, right, with certain perceived constraints on our timeline, and we trust the staff that we have, and we trust that the deal that they were putting in front of us was a good one. Again, I mentioned I came from the town hall meeting we had about that very deal tonight. And it does look good for the city, right? It's a good deal for the city, and it's a good deal for the residents of Vernon Township too. It gives them 24/7 police. It allows us to broaden our coverage. When we went to the police union meeting, right? They were excited about the idea to expand their coverage area. Some of them were deciding to remain with their jobs in the city because of this very contract. It works out well for us. Financially, it's not a windfall, but right, it's every little bit helps, and it allows us to pay our pension, right, that we promise our police officers, and expand that to more people. So all in all, it was a good deal. I am committed to open and transparent government. We've been doing that with more town hall meetings and other ways for people to get involved too. We had that town hall tonight, and I'm committed to doing that in the future.
Thank you. Larry?
Yes, I think that as far as the Vernon Township and Meadville, I think it's a good idea. I think we need to look, there's a broader picture that I see when we're starting off with our police department venturing out into to Vernon, I'm sorry. But I see Meadville this giving us an opportunity to possibly come with more revenue from the services that we actually have here in Meadville, our police department, our fire department. And again, maybe that can open a door that, hey, you know, West Mead may need something, or we may be able to provide something for one of the other areas. But I think it's very important that we look at what it's going to provide. And again, one of the good things, it's revenue, but also it is safety for our neighbors. And if they know that the area is being patrolled, it's going to help decrease crime in that area, because I've been watching, there's been a lot of car break-ins and things of that nature. Hopefully it doesn't force them back into Meadville, but I think it's going to make people feel a lot more safer. So if there is tax increase, it's justifiable, but there's not one involved with this, so it's a revenue gain for the city. And again, I think it's something that we should look at from other aspects, whether it's the water authority or sewer authority, to look at maybe offering our services for a fee to other areas.
Thank you. Marcy?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Basically, the question boils down to what can you do over the next 4 years to ensure open and transparent government?
There was more to that question, right, Frank? You
Well,
said them all, but
yeah. Well, often I can try to get it almost verbatim, but often when we hold the candidate forums, we ask the candidates about open and transparent government. Earlier this fall, council voted to approve a police services contract with Vernon Township after amending the agenda to include the item, which was not posted on the agenda. The move seemed to be in opposition of Pennsylvania's Office of Open Records, which says a reason for changes must be stated prior to any official action by an agency, which includes votes. So what can you do over the next 4 years to ensure open and transparent government?
Well, obviously there were other instances with this council that that question open and transparent government as well. It wasn't just that case, but there was lots of other cases where it was perceived that they weren't open and transparent. I think part of the problem with council is them functioning not as a body of five and not using the council form of government and having committees. I think that the committees wastes or at least strains staff resources, it costs taxpayer dollars, and it proposes transparency issues. It also excludes a council person or person and denies their constituents representation. Committees have no authority anyways, and not to mention that having committee meetings midday makes it difficult for people to attend. So I believe that we should go back to the council form of government. I don't believe that this council is following that form of government. I question the involvement of Joe Tompkins on the email streams. Why is it that he's on the email streams and Larry's missing from the streams, or Jim Rowe is missing? That's questionable. When I was discussing how things worked and if that was normal, I was told that that was not normal and that no one outside of city council should be discussing things without everyone present, including all council members. So I believe that was a clear violation as well.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not being run as transparent as it could. I know the current gang likes to run on we're a transparent government, but honestly, it only seems that way when they have their group or their subcommittee that they put together and they're talking, and it's people that agree with the agenda that they currently have. It needs to be just an open government with everybody expressing their ideas, everybody's invited to all the discussions, and everybody gets to talk about it. If I was on city council, it would be absolutely the most transparent government you could ever possibly have. There won't be a bunch of subcommittees, not behind closed door meetings. It would be everybody out in the open. So I agree with what you said, that it comes off, their meeting comes awfully close to violating the Sunshine Act. And I would not be okay with that. If I was happening to be on with city council, I would not have been okay with that happening. So we do need a more transparent government, one that involves all the council members every time, meetings always announced way ahead of time. I do like how you want to get the public involved. I want to get the public involved as well. And I think that, it can come off, it can be better than it is right now with transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Larry. And always seems to be a discussion, we've had a lot of it tonight, about the budget and how to get the budget into balance. Property tax has been raised, services jobs cut within the city. Even this year there were some cuts. In your opinion, does the city have a revenue problem or a spending problem or some other issue needed to balance the budget?
Thank you. I think it's a little bit of both. It's the jobs, that there's no high-paying jobs. A lot of your jobs are low-paying jobs. So that's one of the things we need to do, is bring better-paying jobs to this area. Spending, no, the spending we've done has been necessary. Fire equipment, ambulance, the cameras for the police, things that people say they want. We're not out spending frivolously, okay? Our police cars, they were donated. So, we haven't spent money that way. What do we need to do? We need to figure out a way that we can bring revenue and generate revenue, and because we are watching how we spend money. Okay, we're not the one that went out and took out a $650,000 loan with no real way of paying it back. Just on, well, we'll take care of it next year, or take from another fund to pay it back. We've raised revenue for the city, okay? And we are trying, and that's what our goal is, to continue to raise revenue, and we are trying to also continue to not have to raise taxes. So, I mean, you can sit here and speculate how you're going to do or what you want, but, you have to look at the economy. You have to look at the job market. It's just not a one-shot deal. You have to talk with employers. There's many things that can be done, and like Bill said, no, they haven't sat on a meeting. They don't know what all is involved and the decisions that we have to make, or what we're held against, what somebody else won't do or won't react. But again, the bottom line, I think, is that we also need to look at, as far as transparency, the meetings are open, okay? They're the first and third Tuesday of every month, the same time. So transparency is partly on the part of the citizens being involved and coming out on their own.
Thank you, Larry. Marcy, to you. In your opinion, does the city have a revenue problem, a spending problem, or is there another issue has to come into play to balance the budget?
Well, the city faces different specific challenges. Approximately 45% of the properties in Meadville are tax exempt, creating an inadequate amount of property taxes for the city. Due to our numerous social services, we draw a larger percentage of lower income earners, creating yet another shortage of revenue. Property taxes drive people out in business, so we are not drawing people in with our high property taxes. They are going to the outlying areas, which create yet another challenge. Much of the budget is controlled by the state, and we cannot tax our way out of our budget problems. We do need to increase revenue by increasing our tax base, but we're not going to do this with high property taxes. I disagree that we're spending all of our money wisely. We are currently facing 2 lawsuits. We're suing and getting sued, so that's costing the city money. We are also talking about solar panels for the climate action plan that's going to cost the city money. We're talking about workforce development, which I don't think our city should be involved in. We need to rein it in and cut where we can, increase revenue, and I don't feel that this city council is taking us in that direction.
Thank you very much. Bill?
We absolutely have a spending problem, and we do have a revenue problem, but that can't be solved by increasing taxes again. Again, we've increased taxes 2 of the last 3 times. I believe the only reason we didn't increase them 3 out of 3 times is because we had COVID money, which allowed us to cover the budget. And I'm sure they're going to be increased again this time, the way things are going. So it's going to be 3 out of 4 times. So we're not doing anything right now to make it better. It's going in the wrong direction. And I mean, and I would ask, I guess it's a forum, it's not a debate, but I would ask, if Autumn can speak to it next, what is this council currently doing to bring in business and help business? I just don't see what's going on. As a person who owns a business downtown, I don't see what you're doing to help business. It's not a business-friendly atmosphere. Business owners that I know, people that want to invest in the city, do not feel like they have a seat at the table. When they do something, they do it on their own, and they don't want to be involved with city council. And this is a huge problem. And then, like Marcy said, is that tax-exempt properties, there's a lot of them. They need to start contributing in some way to help us out. We can't make it if such a huge percentage of our properties are tax exempt. So they need to donate more. They can increase their pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, but they've got to do something. And also, my whole answer I gave, I think it was 2 questions ago, about how we build more business. It goes in a cycle. It's circular. We get better business. We get people to want to move into town. They start paying more of their different taxes. We get their earned income tax credit tax. We get their per capita tax. We get their LST tax. Then we start having more money. And it goes in a circle. But we've got to build it first. And we're just not currently doing anything to build it and make it better. We're just not. And we have to start doing that.
Thank you very much. Autumn, question to you.
Yeah, so we have been doing a lot over the last 4 years to build it and make it better. We have been working really hard to make Meadville a more hospitable place, but also to work on the city's own housekeeping, the city's own finances. The question posed was about if the city, I think it was, has a spending problem or a revenue problem, right?
Or something else.
Or something else, sure. And so, sure it is both, but we've talked about, the services that we value in our city that we don't want to cut, right? And that's what our spending is. Our spending is personnel, it's police, it's fire, fighters, and it's public works, and some of our city staff, right? And there's not a whole lot to cut there. And it's also paying back money we've borrowed to buy fire trucks and to pave our streets. Right, so our that's the extent of our spending, and Our revenue is really, I think, what we do need to address. So we've learned a lot in the last 4 years, and we've done a lot of work on that front too. I mentioned before, right at the beginning of the year, we were looking at a projected deficit of $1 million, and we've brought that down by increasing revenue. We've established that the state ties our hands, right, in terms of how we're able to do that, relying heavily, making municipalities rely heavily on property taxes. And there needs to be changes made to that, right? Marcy brought up the fact that over 40% of property owners in Meadville are tax exempt. Those properties aren't on the tax rolls. And so we've lobbied in Harrisburg, we've spoken with legislators, and we've been working with other municipalities to advocate for changes at the state level so that we can maintain the level of services that residents in Meadville appreciate. And we've also been working to raise revenue in other ways too. I mentioned that in the 4 years we've been on council, the city's seen just under $7 million in grant funds from the state and federal government, as well as some of the new programs that we've instituted that are offsetting our costs and generating revenue. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Well, we're going to start winding down. We're going to have one last question. Marcy, we'll start with you. If you're elected to council, let's go 4 years from after you being elected. What are the top 3 things that we could look back on in 4 years and point to as accomplishments during your term on council if you're elected?
Well, first of all and foremost, I look to improve relations between our residents and our city and our businesses. I feel that this council is very divisive, and I feel that they stir up problems that aren't necessarily there and create division. So I would hope that we could put an end to that. I would like to see the budget under control by eliminating much of the unnecessary spending, eliminating time. Whenever city staff spends time on something, that's spending city dollars. So we're spending a lot of time on things that I don't think we necessarily need to, or I know that we don't need to. We need to strip the budget and strip what we do to creating a safe and a safe place for people to work and live by providing essential services. That means cutting workforce development. I don't think that's a city function. I also don't believe that the climate action plan is a city function. Why don't we take the climate action plan? I'm not saying that it's a bad idea, but why don't we take the climate action plan to the county where it would be more effective? The city can't afford to keep doing these pet projects. So I would hope that eliminating some of those would help the budget as well. So increased relations and a better budget and bringing in business by working towards decreasing our property taxes.
Thank you. Bill Lawrence?
I would hope that after 4 years, if I was able to get elected, we would be able to look back at the 4 years and say that we have built a more united Meadville. I would like to say that I would like to have a Meadville that has brought back to life the parks program as I remember it, as I worked at the park for all through my high school and college in the summers and enjoyed that. It's not where it needs to be. I would like to hope that after my 4 years, we've brought in unique and fun businesses to Meadville and supported those businesses the best we can. And we have begun to rehab houses and make Meadville more beautiful. A Meadville where people are friendlier again, know each other's names again, and we do more things together. And I think if we start it and we get people more excited because we're not raising taxes all the time. We can't raise taxes anymore. And we get businesses to move in, and we get people to move in. That creates an environment where people want to participate in it. They want to be part of it. So when we have things downtown, people want to come to it. Right now, a lot of times we have events and they're sadly attended. So we need to do things and bring it back. 'Cause like I've said before, I was born here, I was raised here, and I remember how great some of the things were, like the sidewalk sales and the 3-on-3 basketball tournaments that we would have that were huge. And we got to bring those all back to life. So I guess my answer would be look back on 4 years, we have a united and wealthier Meadville.
Thank you. Autumn?
Yeah, Bill, I'm so glad that you want to live in my Meadville. That's really great of you, and I would welcome you there. You know, it's interesting to look back, right? Larry and I have served almost 4 years on City Council, and so we can kind of see some of the ways in which Meadville has changed and some of the ways we have been able to make progress. And I'm really proud of those things. And you know, we want to keep moving Meadville forward. And so after 4 years from now, should we be given the chance to do so? You know, I think that I would hope that we would see safe, affordable housing options for people. People can make choices that are right for their family about where they want to live and what they can afford. And I think that we're well on our way to doing that. I think that we would see a balanced budget, but also that we would see a government that's a city that's well positioned for the future, right? That we've been able to take advantage. There's so much money now. I can't underscore it enough. There's so much money now coming from the state and federal government. We are positioning ourselves right now to take advantage of that. I was just contacted today by someone who was like, we will help you write this grant to the USDA to help weatherize people's homes. Like, please, can we get working on this? And so we've got a meeting on Thursday, right? But there's a lot of money coming down right now. We've got to be well positioned to do that, and that means planning now so that over the course of the next 4 years, right, we can begin to implement some of those plans and see some of those things come to fruition. Some of those things meaning good, livable jobs for people, jobs of the future. Again, housing that works in our community. A community that's more walkable and safe. We're working on plans for that as well. And instituting our climate action plan, right? So we are looking at solar panels on city buildings because there's money for that right now. And if we save money up front on the installation and generate money into the future, right, we're positioning ourselves well. And yeah, I'd want to see a place where people's needs are met and they can live good lives in Meadville, and I'm excited we've been working on that.
Thank you very much. Larry?
Yeah, hopefully 4 years from now, I can look back and say, well, you know what, one of my pet projects is parks, because I was very active at Heidi Cooper Park, Pomona Park, Fifth Ward Park, playing sports. I was at all of them. And that's one of my pet projects, is to see the parks in every neighborhood or every ward up to the same standard, instead of one being some substandard than another. Having them staffed, having a place for our children to go and them being safe. I want people to come when they come to, because a lot of people come here, come back for vacation. I want them to be able to go to Heidi Cooper or to the park up by Allegheny College and take their kids and enjoy. I'd like them to be able to not have to go to Conneaut Lake or to Erie or somewhere. When I grew up here, we were also taught things. We played games, we learned games. Cootie Harris taught music. He taught Tai Chi, different things. We had regular people that were involved in the parks, in our community. That's what I think we need to bring back, start investing in the things that we have here, and we'll see those things come. I just think that this is such a great place, and I think that if we start looking at, stop looking at the first recourse is to raise taxes, but as Autumn stated, there's monies that are available. We have people that are calling, wanting to help us get grants and loans. Those are the things we need to start focusing on, and I think that's something I would love to see 4 years down the road.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's going to conclude our questioning for this evening. We're going to give each candidate up to 2 minutes to make a closing statement. We're going to go in reverse order from where we began, so that means we will start with Marcy.
Okay, again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and the Tribune for holding the forum, and for Armstrong and Cool 101 for being here. Voters of Meadville, this isn't about promising to do something for you if I'm elected. I can't promise. I can't make that promise. I can't take care of you because that's impossible, nor is it a function of City Council. Meadville was not explored and developed by people who were taken care of by others. We live in a city that was developed by hardworking pioneers who stood up for their own rights and put in the hard work to successfully raise a family in this town. With a looming deficit, we can't afford unnecessary spending of city staff time, and resources to pursue duplicitous ordinances which serve no purpose other than to satisfy a small niche in the tenant population in our city, that being Connect 55. This was clearly a political undertaking orchestrated by the campaign manager for Vote for Meadville to gain support in the May primary. This was also a slap in the face to landlords at an already tumultuous time, which ignited tensions and set the city up for the pending lawsuit. City council should not choose sides but work to serve all parties involved. My opponents pride themselves on having numerous unnecessary meetings to solicit resident input on issues. In virtually every case, low turnout of hand-picked supporters occur, and then council proceeds with their preconceived plans. My opponents are counting on Democrat voters to simply check their boxes as a force of habit, but I ask you, are they really for you? PA United states in their website, and I quote, they come to this work because both political parties, have failed to address the crucial needs of the community. I am asking voters who want to see this city thrive to give their vote to the persons who have demonstrated that they possess skills and can lead by example, and not the political party that affiliated with the candidate. I humbly ask that you vote for myself and Bill Lawrence on Tuesday, November 7th.
Thank you very much. Marcy? Larry, you've got 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank the radio station and Armstrong and Tribune for having us. Born and raised here, like Bill, I've seen this town at its worst and at its best. I also know our record, what Autumn and I have accomplished in our 4 years. And that's what I'm going to stick to, are the facts. I'm not going to sit up here and badmouth or dispute anything that either one of them said, whether I agree with it or not. The facts are the facts. We have brought revenue in to the city, okay, with our EMS, with the deal with Vernon Township. So for you to sit here and say that we have not done anything, or that these programs that we've initiated, they've helped people. We've helped people not feel intimidated when they have to deal with the police, or if they have a problem, they know that there are organizations and people that are concerned and will listen. And if that is, and if staff has to get involved with that, and if someone feels that's a waste of taxpayers' money, I disagree with that. That's what we are here for. We were elected to take care of the city of Meadville, to ensure the safety, housing, and everything for people, not for just a group, call it a niche group or whatever, tomato, because the landlords are a group, okay? But that's what we need to get away from, is that name calling and blaming. We need to work together to find out what and how we're going to bring this city ahead. And that is by being open and honest and working together for a common goal, not to support him because he's my friend, or her because she's my neighbor, or something of that nature. We need to work together with the honesty of wanting to see Meadville a better place.
Thank you. Autumn, 2 minutes for a closing statement. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tribune, for having us, for Active Aging for hosting, to Cool and Armstrong for covering this, and the campus too, thanks. And you for keeping us safe, sir, from Blooming Valley, thank you. Yeah, and thank the Meadville voters for watching as well and being informed. Yeah, man, I'm getting stuff lobbed at all sides, and I guess I want to address several things, right? I'm a proud dues-paying member of Pennsylvania United. We are a grassroots organization of poor and working people across Pennsylvania who are working for better communities. We're working in partnership with unions, and we are working to organize working class people, because we think that it's time that we have a seat at the table, right? After Larry and I ran in 2019, we had mobilized so many people to work on our campaign, and we wanted to keep that momentum going and to keep people organized so we could continue to deliver important changes in people's lives. And so we founded the chapter Crawford County United here in Crawford County to do that, right? We're committed to co-governing. That means creating an anti-retaliation ordinance in partnership with the folks from Connect 55, with Bill and Linda and Roy and all of the people that live up there, right, who we developed really good relationships with, because that's what solidarity is, and that's what it means to work alongside working class people. And that includes people who are working, right, to make their own business successful in Meadville. That is my day job, is to help people start and expand their businesses in Meadville. I've been doing that now for like 8 years. There's very few businesses in Meadville that I haven't had a direct relationship with and supported in some way. I'm not controlled by anything on the outside. I'm committed to this place. I'm committed to the people here, and I'm committed to the work that Larry and I started 4 years ago to make this place a better place for normal people to want to live, for working people to want to live in Meadville. I'm proud of the work that we've done, and I hope that Meadville is too, the work we've done together. We ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Autumn, Bill?
Just like everybody else, thank you, everybody, for putting this on. We appreciate it. Cool 107 and Armstrong and Tribune, we appreciate it. And thanks our huge audience we have here. Appreciate that too. Autumn, you never have come see my business one time.
That's not true.
That's,
Anyway,
you never
go
come
ahead.
see me. I know you have. In 25 years, you've never come see me. So you come to see businesses on downtown. In fact, I had a huge issue happen outside my business not too long ago where a pipe broke, a main pipe. And I can tell you that I never saw the mayor, I never saw Larry, I never saw Autumn for a huge issue that happened at a downtown business that brings a lot of people in. Never saw any of them. No one came down to even lend a fake sympathetic ear. Would have been nice, but I never heard anything. So I don't see where you're saying your help with business at all. And that's really the main difference here. And when you're deciding who you're going to vote for, you have myself, you have Marcy. We're very pro-business. We're pro-growing Meadville. We're pro-cutting spending. We're pro getting more better jobs in here. The jobs are here. We don't want to see a stagnant Meadville anymore. Our vision of Meadville is not one where you're a victim and you need to have everybody in the government help you. We believe you can help yourself. We give you a helping hand, and we know you can do it yourself. And that's what I believe in. I believe in the people of Meadville, and I believe in the businesses that are going to come to Meadville and how Meadville is going to thrive. So I hope on November 7th, I hope that you come and vote for me. I hope you come and vote for Marcy. Because we will help unite Meadville. We don't care if you're a Republican, we don't care if you're a Democrat. I can tell you that we will work together. You're always going to have a place at the table, no matter what the letters after your name. That doesn't mean anything to me. I have Meadville first. So thank you for having us.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. I'd like to thank the candidates, Bill Lawrence, Autumn Vogel, Larry McKnight, Marcy Kantz, for coming tonight. Tonight's forum will be shown on Armstrong Cable neighborhood channel. And your first opportunity to see a replay will be Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. And no, that's not for me. I'm in charge, apparently, or maybe not. And it also will be shown again on Sunday, October 29th at 2 o'clock, and then Monday, October 30th at 7 o'clock. Once again, we want to thank the candidates for being here. We also want to thank the radio audience on Cool 101.7 FM, those watching on Armstrong's cable channel. And on behalf of the Meadville Tribune and Rick Green, I'm Keith Gushard. Have a good evening.
It's going to be a